With inflation and the rising cost of living these days, it is having a serious impact on our homeless population. Thankfully, we do have some dedicated people and organizations committed to providing help. To talk about the challenges of our homeless, the working poor, and those with addictions is Ken Kissick. He is co-founder of Streets Alive Mission here in Lethbridge. Ken, welcome to Bridge City News.
Thank you for having me.
Now, many of our viewers know what Streets Alive Mission is all about, but some probably don't. Can you just give us a snapshot of what you do here in Lethbridge?
You realize the snapshot's going to look like the photo of a football team. Just kind of quickly, there's the mission itself, and out of that mission, we do trusteeships, 181 people, $2 million that we manage their money. We have the pin bank where we do clothing. We have 500 individual clients with 12,000 visits a year. We have the warming, cooling, respite. We'll talk about that, I think, a little bit later. But it really, we phone, they can come in warm or cool in the summer and just kind of get out of the street life. Outreach, 7 days a week. We are looking after encampments and just people out there looking for their wellness. Foot Friday, every Friday. Street feet, helping them with their foot care. Haircuts, it's 2 days a week now. We provide haircuts. Nursing care, 2.5 days a week. Nurses come in. And then, of course, basic referrals. Then we have our repurpose center where we do all of our sorting. It's a warehouse area. We provide clothing, housing, house good, furniture. It's agency referred to run 6 days a week. So if people want to take stuff, they can go there. 219 12B Street. Then we have Exodus and Genesis recovery programs. We'll talk about those a little bit later. Currently, we have 15 women and 39 men that we're looking after. And then Sundays, we have Freedom Church. It's a fellowship that is largely made up of people in our recovery programs, and it continues to grow. And that's kind of the snapshot.
Well, it might have been an easier question for me to ask what you don't do in Lethbridge, Ken. Now, we have already had some bitterly cold days and weeks here in this winter. Can you explain how weather like that impacts the homeless population?
Okay, so when you're out there, they're susceptible to frostbite, losing fingers and toes. It lowers their immune system because they really trying to get sleep or whatever it is, and it really increases their survival stress. Okay, and that creates mood things, deepens hopelessness. So the cold weather, just like the rest of us, okay, it affects you. But with them, there's serious implications to it. And of course, the concern is that they also could freeze to death if there's not a place for them to get in when it's minus 35. So it's serious.
Now, the Lethbridge homeless shelter can fill up pretty quickly when it gets cold. So I understand the city has now partnered with Streets Alive to provide what is being called a 24-hour comfort center for vulnerable residents throughout the winter months. What does that mean, practically speaking?
So for us, the daytime mission center provided that respite, telephone, bathroom, access to the pin bank, the care cuts and all that kind of stuff. And just they could come for coffee and not really a drop in, but just a place to kind of put your head together. We've just expanded that for 24 hours. So they can't sleep there. So there, excuse me, there's no mats or anything on the floor, that kind of thing. They're just allowed to come in and hang out, sit at the table. We've got movies or videos going. There's coffee for them. And now we'll do a breakfast, which is toast. We're doing a supper, which is like soup and a sandwich. But basically, it's just to get them in. Last night, we had 71 in the warming center. I think there were 120 something at the shelter. There is over 220 people on the street in the city. And we're struggling on nasty weather to get them all in somewhere safe.
So Ken, are you seeing more homeless people this year compared to previous years? And if so, do you think it is in part due to the rising cost of living with inflation?
So the answer to the first part of the question is yes, we are definitely seeing more homeless. for us, inflation, I don't think is a big factor yet. Okay, addiction remains the primary problem for most of these people. Now, certainly, we are starting to see that trickle down effect of people at the low end of the rental scales and that are being pushed out and struggling to find places to live. Okay. Um, uh, but because of Lethbridge's community, people get taken into homes and extended family, but it's coming.
Now, how can viewers help, and what kinds of donations do you need to help in cold weather?
The the best way for everybody that can to help is to pray for us. Absolutely. Other than that, we need warm clothing, mitts, gloves, boots, anything like that. We need food for our feeding program. Just because we're feeding them, we need help to do that. We need volunteers to come who are willing to provide a meal for 50 or 60 people, or at least make it up. And we can always use cash, that kind of thing. But yeah, right now, clothing, food, uh, big need, and help.
Now, speaking of the cold, you have your annual Coldest Night of the Year walk, which is coming up on February 25th. Can you tell us what this is all about and how our viewers can get involved?
So the Coldest Night of the Year walk is something we've been involved in. I think this is our 11th year, and it was started to really bring awareness to the issues of poverty in a community, especially in the cold weather. Uh, it is managed by a group called Blue Seas for Philanthropy. And if you want to get involved, there's a number of ways you can join a team, form a team. But the best way is you go to cnoy.org/Streets Alive Mission. And that'll take you to the website where we are, and it'll explain everything that you need to do, and it's managed from there. Our goal this year is to get 250 walkers out. And this year we will be walking in the downtown. The last few years we've been out at Land O'Lakes Golf Course, and we've been at Henderson Park. But this year we're going to start out of the new venue in Center Square, or whatever it is there, walking around Galt Gardens and that kind of thing. So it's going to be a fun day. And we'd really encourage everybody, get your workplace, you can get teams, you can get your family to get up a team, but go to that cnoi.org/Streets Alive Mission.
Now, for the last 2 years, we've been talking a lot about concerns with COVID, but this year, there's lots of talk about the triple threat of COVID, influenza, and RSV. How is this impacting the homeless population?
The homeless are pretty resistant and immune, and that's largely because of their lifestyle. And they often can be sick, but they don't. The addiction and everything else overrides that, and often they've been through a ton of stuff, and so we aren't seeing like, not a lot of them got COVID during COVID. And right now, my staff is more susceptible to the flu and the RSV and the cold than the street population.
Wow.
They're almost bulletproof from that end, but it's because they live the lifestyle, so they'll often get sick, nobody will notice, and so they've got an immunity that we don't notice.
Now, Ken, while I have you with us, can you just share some success stories? And are there individuals who are overcoming addictions and rising up out of poverty?
This year, in this last month, we've just celebrated, or November, we just celebrated 8 120-day graduations. In the last 3 years, we've got 8 people with a year or more. There are individuals, we've got at least 5 men who now have access back to their children. In one case, he's actually now got joint custody. He gets them for a week. these are big things, especially for the men. A lot of times they lose custody and then they never get to see their kids again. And we've got other people. We've got 5 people that have been through the program working for us, anywhere from 9 months clean to 5 years clean.
Wow,
So
amazing.
the success is there. It's a combination of them putting in work and us putting in work. But the bottom line is they have to let God do the work.
And it's always amazing to hear those stories, especially when a parent's been separated from their child and then they finally get to see their kids again. Now, Ken, to what degree does faith in Jesus impact individuals in their recovery journey?
It is absolutely imperative. It is the key. All of our successes, um, all of our successes have come because people have engaged with Christ and allowed Christ in to do the healing. Um, Most people are in addictions because of trauma. If we can get the trauma healed, then they can move forward. And all of these guys that have got their kids back, they're also church attenders now. They are actively involved with Christ in their life. So he is key. We do have some, it's not a requirement. We've had some that have come in and they understand that we're biblically uh, worldview based, and there is a certain level of success, but they never fully recover, and often they relapse in. The ones that can get out, um, you'll see it in their life. He is key. He is key to what we do.
And you know what? We're so busy. Christmas is just around the corner. It'll be here before we know it. So tell us about the Stuff a Bag for Streets Alive opportunity as we approach the holiday season.
Uh, Give us a call. Arrange to come and get a bag. It's a blue shopping bag like you would get at Safeway or something like that, and we just ask you to fill it with whatever. It can be filled with food. It can be filled with clothes. It can be filled. The idea is just stuff it and bring it in. We've heard of people that have taken 2 or 3. They take them to work, and then they ask people to bring stuff in at work, and they stuff the bags there. Uh, there's other people that go around to family events, and we've got people this year, instead of doing Christmas gifts at Christmas party, they're stuffing bags. So it's a fun thing. It's a little blue bag. Give us a call and come and get one.
Now, you have some interesting programs at Streets Alive. You listed a ton of them earlier on in this interview. Tell us about the Exodus Men's Life Recovery Program and also the Genesis Women's Life Recovery Program, and explain what happens here and the impact it's having.
So both these programs are what we call post treatment. So this is not taking them right off the street, but these are people who have addictions, who have begun the process of wanting to walk free uh, from it, and they're choosing us because they know we're also faith based. So they recognize that there is an element of spirituality that they need to apply to their recovery, and from there we with both the men and women there are classes. Some of those classes have to do with basic theory in terms of addictions. Others deal with the biblical base, boundaries, involving Christ, things like transformation, and those we apply all of that, and we walk with them. We provide housing through what we call stages 1 to 4. So stage 1 is when you're in the first 30 days. Stage 2 is your next 90. Then stage 3 and 4 are after that. And each of those is leading people to more independence. By the time you're in 3 and 4, you should be going to school or working at least part-time. Some have some health issues they're trying to deal with. Our success rate for the people is in the 70s, getting people through, and it's just growing. Like I said, we have in the last 3 years we've got 8 guys that we know are more than a year, and we've got a couple of women that are more than a year, and there's everything in between. And so now we do have relapses, and sometimes the result of a relapse is death. And so we've had individuals in the program that have relapsed out and they're no longer with us. the one thing we do know is that all of them are in heaven, because at some point in the way we just are who we are. We live Christ, and people figured out that, hey, I need him. And so that's kind of what we do.
Well, thank you so much, Ken, for speaking with us today. That was amazing to hear all that's going on at Streets Alive Mission and all those wonderful programs that you have.
Thank you very much. And of course, if people want to donate, they can just go to streetsalive.ca and click the donate button. They can also sign up as a volunteer. And actually, right now, we have some staffing needs in that 24-hour operation that we're running, warming center for the next 3 or 4 months. So if people are interested, they can give us a call. And thank you very much for having us on.
Ken Kissick is the co-founder of Streets Alive Mission in Lethbridge. I'm Naveen Day. On behalf of all of us here at Bridge City News, thanks for watching.